Somebody better pick up that phone because I called it. When Kevin McCarthy was in that disastrous vote for Speaker of the House, this guy clearly had no control. He had no ability to wrangle the MAGA wing of the GOP. I said at the time, this is it. MAGA now controls the Republican Party. I stand by that. In fact, that is when I began seriously looking into the coming party split, which I believe is right around the corner. Fast forward a little bit. When Kevin McCarthy, we discovered that he was going to release just to Fox News the January 6th additional footage. We said two things. Number one, it would be used to present a false case for innocence for J6 rioters. And two, it would be disastrous for Republicans. Well, guess what? Let's have a look at Meidas Touch talking about some of these recent developments. Because I'll tell you, it could not be a better example of what I was talking about.
I'm Ben Meiselas from the Meidas Touch Network. Kevin McCarthy's decision to turn over 41,000 hours of Capitol building surveillance footage from January 6th to Tucker Carlson and Tucker Carlson's producers exclusively is backfiring big time. According to a new report by CNN, who spoke to many Republicans who left a meeting that took place on Monday night to address this specific issue, many Republicans are upset at the way in which Kevin McCarthy turned over the footage to Tucker Carlson. A lot of the Republicans are saying that, why would you do something to, again, bring back up the January 6th insurrection and all of our involvement in the insurrection? Come on, Kevin, don't you realize that's a bad look for us? Can we try to focus on other things other than the Republican Party's involvement in the insurrection?
He's quite correct. Only exception I want to put is that is an understatement. Bear in mind, we are on the eve of trials over this. They better hope it's just Donald Trump that's getting stomped on in these trials. We know Merrick Garland's going to do his damnedest to prosecute as few people as possible, but more and more it's looking like he's not going to be able to get away with not prosecuting Trump. But there were other Republicans involved. Their names are going to be popping up again and again. The worst thing that can happen for the GOP is for people to be seriously talking about January 6th again. Their fall guys are the people who are on trial right now. It doesn't help them to have the fall guys say, "Oh, wait, let's look at these details even more." Going to be fascinating.
Other members of the Capitol, because they're also very selfish and they don't really care about national security, they care about their own security. They're upset that by giving this information exclusively to Tucker Carlson and Tucker Carlson's producers, that their lives may be placed in jeopardy because safe rooms and locations and maps of the Capitol may be released. And this is precisely what the chief of the Capitol Police and the Department of Justice wanted to avoid. This is why when the January 6th committee released footage, they released it kind of just in the public areas like the rotunda and outside, and didn't turn over all 41,000 hours of footage.
Just don't forget, even though these people are pro-rebellion, a lot of them had their lives, I'm talking about the Republican Party, a lot of them had their lives put in danger on January 6th. You know that their base, the people who are rioting, don't understand politics very well. In fact, the GOP knows that their base doesn't understand politics very well. They rely on that to get elected. which means they also know these people very well. If they would have caught some GOP senators, anybody, their staffers, they wouldn't have any idea, unless it was from their state, who the person is. And they were in a great deal of danger. Not as much as Democrats, who were certainly being targeted, but they were in danger, and they knew it. And they know that next time, the mob might just say, get them all. Get them all.
Because the Capitol Police said, don't do that. And the Department of Justice said this will be very harmful to our criminal prosecutions of insurrectionists. But nonetheless, Kevin McCarthy persisted. Why did Kevin McCarthy not just persist, but enthusiastically hand it over to Tucker Carlson? Because the entire Republican Party is now captured by MAGA Republicanism, which is also shared by Fox. And people like Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert demanded that this take place in order to spread their conspiracy theories. And they didn't want it to go to the public. They wanted it to go to their chief propagandist, Tucker Carlson. And we see just how, frankly, disgraceful Tucker Carlson's conduct has been. We always knew it was disgraceful, but to see his text messages, his emails, and the deposition transcripts where he calls the viewers of Fox, he calls the conspiracy theorists that he's catering to effing lunatics and morons and idiots, basically just says he needs to spread the election disinformation in order to make sure he keeps his ratings and that Fox doesn't lose viewers.
So another angle to look at this from, which is important to understand, is that right now, Fox is in the headlines as well. It looks bad when, A, they don't want to keep talking, they being the Republicans, don't want to keep talking about January 6th because they all had a hand in it, either through supporting these people on the pulpit or literally in some cases, showing them around the building. It looks bad, and it's going to highlight for America how much they are traitors. Again, miraculously, they seem to have gotten away with it so far. Most of these people do not appear to be targets of Merrick Garland's investigation. We have no reason to believe that they are. Merrick Garland is a little kitty cat trying to play the role of a lion. He just doesn't have it. But it also looks bad to highlight the ridiculous relationship between Fox News and Republicans, which again, McCarthy's doing. At this time in particular, there is not a worse time to highlight that relationship. And once again, you won't have Republicans questioning these things. You're going to have the families of Republicans asking these questions and Republicans being unable to answer them. Why did Fox get the 40,000 hours and other stations didn't? Why was it handed out unequally? Have you been following what Tucker Carlson said about you, Grandpa, you, Uncle Larry, whoever the hell? Have you heard what Tucker Carlson thinks of you? Thinks of these things you believe? Have you heard what Sean Hannity thinks of you? You want to know what you can do? I'm going to let you in on it right now so you can keep mulling it over through the rest of these. Be ready to ask that of the people in your life that believe this nonsense. Have you heard? It doesn't benefit them politically to have, right now in particular, the relationship between Fox News and Republicans again put in the spotlight. Absolutely disastrous politics from McCarthy.
To Newsmax, but that's the individual,
good, by the way,
who Kevin McCarthy turns over 41,000 hours of Capitol building surveillance footage to on January 6th. Now, in the questioning by a lot of these Republicans in this closed-door meeting, because, of course, everything with MAGA Republicans is closed-door, what Kevin McCarthy tried to assure them is, look, we'll give this to other media outlets. But first, we have to let Tucker Carlson and his producers go through that process. And so some of the other Republicans asked Kevin, well, how long is that going to take? And Kevin McCarthy said, I don't know. It may take Tucker Carlson's producers a week or 2 weeks. It may even be a few weeks, but they'll tell us when they're ready. And once Fox airs their exclusive, then we can turn over the footage to other media outlets. Now,
so again, that's just going to highlight the difference. It will be Fox and then everybody else. Or maybe Kevin McCarthy will get the controls yanked out of his hands by somebody who knows what they're doing. And next they'll go to CNN, which is a fairly conservative outlet, all things considered. And then they'll do another one, NBC probably, ABC, then another one, MSNBC. And they'll go down the line so that the story is diluted more and more and more, and it becomes more and more white noise to America. That could backfire because the more left-leaning you go, the harsher it's going to be, and frankly, the better reporting will be done. It could be that this simply escalates. A new thing is found constantly, and the story stays alive for all that and goes right into the trial of Donald Trump. Let's hope it's coming. Let's start with Georgia. Go Georgia. I don't know any sports teams from there. Point being, they've given themselves a massive problem here. But let's look at what Michael Popak had to say, because he looks at this from another angle, and it is delightful.
This is Michael Popak, Legal AF. A couple of days ago, we were talking about Kevin McCarthy and his decision to turn over 41,000 hours of Capitol Police video surveillance cameras, most of which had never been seen before, over to Tucker Carlson. And we were all, hair on fire. There he goes again. Why can't we get them? And the media access. But that was not the true plan. The true plan has now been revealed today. Kevin McCarthy probably cares less about getting 41,000 hours reviewed in some basement by Tucker Carlson. And what he really wants to do is stick it to the Department of Justice and throw over the apple cart of the 900 or so prosecutions, including the future one of Donald Trump, by injecting now, quote unquote, new exculpatory evidence that, in the view of the Jan 6 defendants, they should have had as part of their ability to defend themselves.
Does Kevin McCarthy want to do that? I would argue no. Or do MAGA congresspeople want to do that? As in your Matt Gaetz, your Lauren Boeberts. Do they want to do that? I think yes. I think they know in their bright red districts the only way that they can get through these accusations of, let's say, if you're Lauren Boebert, which this is not just an accusation, this is absolutely fact, she poisoned a bunch of rodeo attendees with her ridiculous restaurant before that got shut down. The only way you get through stories like Matt Gaetz, he is a child sex predator. I would, by the way, just adore a lawsuit from that little punk. Yeah, he's a child sex predator. He appears to have trafficked a 17-year-old for the purposes of paying for her to have sex with him. That's what evidence points at. Unfortunately, he was allowed to get away with that. But with that story still hanging over him, brought up frequently, hopefully, by the media, they need to show that they are diehard MAGA folks. And so interfering with justice is how they do that. But as we talked about in our second Salty Saturday video about Kevin McCarthy, they don't have the political savviness to get away with much, at least the way they think they're going to. And this is a great example of that. Because what they are going to accomplish, they're going to get these trials delayed. The Proud Boy trial they are going to get delayed, for sure. But they are also going to keep them in the headlines. These trials will cease to be a quiet thing, which was good for Republicans. It was good that Americans got a little bit bored with it. Not anymore. Now they're going to be combing through that evidence. And remember what we said when we found out about this. You're going to see Tucker Carlson disingenuously editing clips from this to make it look like exculpatory evidence, to make it look like these people were innocent. They got somehow corralled down into whatever area. And then, when other networks get a hold of it, you're going to see the answer to that, which is going to be the unedited clip. The courts are going to do the same thing. So you're going to have that happen twice in front of the American people now. And anybody with even a passing interest who watches it will be forced to once again look at the overwhelming evidence. Do not forget, so many of these people videotaped themselves doing this. They streamed it. These are not difficult cases. So it is going to be an absolute embarrassment for the GOP.
We've already had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of convictions and sentencing related to Jan 6th. What does this new disclosure that 41,000 hours of video, or at least 26,000 hours of new video is now out there? Every defendant, both on trial right now, including the Proud Boys, and every defendant that already found himself convicted, is going to make a motion for new trial and argue that they should have the right to go through these 24,000 video clips to look for, to scour for evidence they may tend to prove their innocence. In the business that I'm in, trial law, we call it Brady material, BRDY. It refers to a case, the U.S. Supreme Court, and it basically says that all exculpatory evidence tending to prove someone's innocence, needs to be turned over by the government if it's in their hands, raising an interesting question as to whether the security footage camera held by the U.S. government and Congress, another branch of government, although here the client of the Department of Justice, because they're representing the United States of America, is that Brady material. We talked about this on a podcast that I co-anchor on Wednesdays and Saturdays called Legal AF with the question, is this Brady material? Will anybody raise the issue of the video surveillance material not turned over to them being Brady material that if it wasn't turned over to them could lead to reversible error and reverse their convictions?
Here's the quick question for you to consider before he throws out his legal expertise. By the way, as I've said many times, I really don't agree with everything said on the Meidas Touch network. But the Meidas Touch network is a huge, huge channel with a lot of different opinions on it. I'm working on another video right now with Politics Girl, who appears on there. She knocks it out of the park. She got a nickname, by the way, just like good old Knock 'em Out Pete that started our first one. Just like Dark Brandon. She earned a nickname on the WYCD channel. Even though I don't agree with everything that the Meidas Touch network says, they have some great minds on there. One of them is Michael Popak. This guy is very, very sharp. He's about to break down what Brady material is for you. But let me first translate so you can consider this. Evidence that might prove the innocence of these folks. Okay? If one of these defendants believed there was a moment wherein their innocence could have been proven, would they not have already have offered that evidence? Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, but this evidence wasn't available. Wasn't available to the public. To my knowledge, there was nothing stopping the January 6th defendants, their lawyers, from subpoenaing the Department of Justice or whoever the heck, Department of Justice, well, the security at the U.S. Capitol, and saying, we need the footage of this person doing X thing or being told Y thing or yada, yada, yada. It took place, according to our timeline, at about this time and about this location, and we will only show it to the judge and the jury, and that'll be that. The answer is, of course they would. Of course they would. Now what will happen, in my opinion, is they're going to watch Tucker Carlson for what their new defense should be. They're going to jump the gun based upon what Tucker Carlson puts out, the edited clips. And before they even get to the point, they're probably going to be given their chance to make their case again. But before they even get to that point, you're going to get to the point where CNN or ABC or yada yada has countered that claim with the full clip. In other words, it is going to be a disaster for them. It will only accomplish, well, two things. It'll waste American taxpayer dollars. We already knew that. This is going to waste millions and millions of your money and mine. And it will embarrass the Republican Party, as once they're going to get convictions reaffirmed in the court. Every piece of evidence will be poured over, and if this is made public, then the public will see why these people are guilty again. It can't go well for them, but let's hear what the expert has to say.
Well, we have it now. Once McCarthy sent the world a notice that he was going to release the 41,000 hours of footage to Tucker Carlson, every one of the currently on trial Jan 6 defendants has woken up, and at least a handful of them in the Proud Boys trial have filed a motion for continuance. Trial's going on right now. It's already 2 weeks in. Asking for filing a motion for continuance with Judge Mehta, asking for a timeout in the trial while they go off and review the 24,000 or so, 26,000 or so hours of video footage they haven't seen before to look for exculpatory evidence that could help their case. And that's now been filed yesterday on the heels of Kevin McCarthy making the decision. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Kevin McCarthy could care less about Tucker Carlson. What he really wanted to do was to create an entire Brady material reversible error issue that the Department of Justice now has to scramble to fix in front of all of its judges. There's going to be hearings going on now from now until the summer about whether the material that had been held back, the difference between the approximately 14,000 hours that the Jan 6 defendants did get, self-selected by the Department of Justice and the Capitol Police, whether the new 26,000 or 27,000 hours was Brady material. Because
okay, just a couple of corrections. Number one, as I said in the beginning, or rather as I said in the last section, if they knew, the defendants, if they were there, if they knew such a moment existed, like, for example, oh, well, the Capitol Police told me I just had to go where all the politicians were. They pushed me in that direction. If there was something along those lines, to my knowledge, they already possessed the ability to request that information be included in their trial. If it was documented, like, say, by security cameras, that could have been searched for. Don't forget, there was also so much public recording of this information. So these people, they knew that their cohorts were out there with their cell phones up saying, look, Ma, I'm a traitor. Look at me being a traitor, Ma. They could have found that information. They could have included that information. The information doesn't exist because these people are traitors. They are guilty of what they were convicted of, and they will be shown to be guilty again. It's that simple. The other point is that McCarthy did not want this. This is not a McCarthy plan. This is a MAGA plan. McCarthy is GOP. He's willing to do MAGA's bidding, but that's, par for the course with a Republican. They have no real morals. They only exist to rob America, to steal from you. That's the only reason they exist. They make your lives worse for their own profit. That is what the GOP does. That's what Republicans do. You want to know what corporate Democrats do? They allow these people to rob you for profit. The only people who are actually looking out for your interests are progressives. And you want to know something crazy? MAGA thinks they are. MAGA actually believes, to some degree, the true believers. I don't believe the Congress people for the most part, but the MAGA voters, they think they're helping. They just are silly, gullible dummies. And they fall for Fox News and OAN and all that propaganda. But they have the power in the Republican Party now. This is why I believe the split is coming, because intelligent people cannot bear to be teamed up with these knuckleheads. And it will keep resulting in things like you have seen. McCarthy could not get his position of power without pleasing these knuckleheads. So McCarthy, I want to stress, doesn't want to do this. McCarthy must do this because MAGA insists. It's terrible politics. It's damaging to McCarthy. It's damaging to Republicans. And it is incredibly beneficial to the United States of America. Look, I wish our security wasn't being compromised by having this footage released to the most terroristy of all Americans. I really wish that wasn't the case. I wish we weren't going to have millions of your dollars and mine burned up relitigating this nonsense. But the benefit to that will be that for the remainder of 2023, we are going to hear about January 6th, 2021. And that is good for Americans. And that should inspire you, by the way, to vote in primaries in 2024 and go as far left as you can. Because we need people doing for the left wing what MAGA is doing for the right wing. And if that sounds dangerous to you, it is dangerous not to. Because we cannot have corporate Democrats taking bribes to let a now MAGA-controlled Republican Party assault you in any number of ways. We need progressives.
If it is, and it wasn't turned over, and they didn't have it at the time for their trial, these defendants, they may have grounds to reverse their convictions. So, of course, Congress, now led by the GOP, at least the House, and McCarthy, this was their plot all along. How do I know it? Because we got a tell today, like a poker tell. We got Representative Loudermilk from Georgia, who's the chairman of the one of the committees on administration, saying, well, this is America, and everybody should have all of the evidence that's required to either prosecute them or to prove their innocence. He's basically declaring that as far as Congress, led by the GOP, is concerned, all of the footage that wasn't disclosed to the Jan 6 defendants, a year ago, 2 years ago, is Brady material. Every one of these lawyers is now going to cite Loudermilk in their filings to say, look, even the client, even Congress, the ones that were under attack, think that this was Brady material that I should have gotten from my client, and therefore stop this trial. Proud Boys going on simultaneously. Stop all the trials that are going on of the other Jan 6 defendants all around District of Columbia. And the ones that already got convicted, either because they pled guilty, which makes it a little bit more difficult, because they had a stipulated trial on facts or a real trial with a jury, all of them are now talking to their lawyers, and their lawyers are considering whether to file motions for new trial and to vacate the sentence. And
yeah, it makes it a little more difficult when they pled guilty. Yeah.
Vacate the conviction because of this, is it Brady material or is it not issue that's now been injected into the case.
I just I really want to stress to you how much footage we're talking about. They said 41,000 hours. 41,000 hours of video from that one day. 41,000 hours of video from one day. Do you know how many hours are in 1 year? 8,760. If one defense attorney wanted to review all of this material, and let's say they take some great futuristic drugs and they don't have to sleep anymore, how many years would it take? Let's be generous. 41,000 divided by 87. Oh, let's just go. Let's round it up. Let's say 9. No, wait, that's not helping. 8760. They would need 4.5 years. 4.5 years to review the material. No sleep. They do nothing else. Let's do it in the realm of reality. Let's say there's a team of 4 of them. You're still going to need years to review this material. Why? Well, what's the point? The point is this. How are they actually going to review it? They're going to ask their client, where were you when? And they'll look through those times. They already asked their client, point blank, okay, why are you innocent? Tell us why you believe you're innocent. They already had that. They already asked the questions they needed to ask. And if they thought such footage existed anywhere, they would have looked for it. They would have requested it already. And they would have been given it to play in the trial. They wouldn't have said, oh, you can't have this footage. This shows our super special secret room. They would not have been told that. Why wouldn't they have been told that? They would have been, because it would have, in theory, proven the person's innocence. So they would have been told, okay, you cannot show this to anyone except the judge and the jury. That's it. This plays in the courtroom and nowhere else. That's what they would have been told. I've covered many court cases. That is not an unusual thing to have happen. So I stress, there is not evidence in here that are going to free January 6ers. Bearing in mind, we do live in a corrupt justice system. There is a chance 1 or 2 people might get maybe a mistrial. I don't know. But they had the opportunity already to present this evidence. It's not like a new opportunity truly is being made here. What I am really curious to see is how many of these specific appeals start after Tucker Carlson does his nonsense, where he says, this here is the official line we're going to go with. You group of liars, you GOP base, this is what we're going to go with. Then they will echo him, as they always have.
I am not creating a doomsday scenario. It is going on right now in real time at the end of February. We just got the filing yesterday on behalf of Ryan Nichols, who's on trial right now in the Proud Boys case. His lawyer filed the motion to continue trial. Now, if you read through it, and we're going to post it here, if you read through it, you're going to see all sorts of things like, oh, the Capitol Police were mean to all the protesters. The Capitol Police were out of control. The Capitol Police were the ones that caused this problem. The Capitol Police used rubber bullets and bullet cannons and sonic weapons and all sorts of things against primarily peaceful protesters. Remember, every one of these Proud Boys, every one of these Oath Keepers, every one of these violent insurrectionists, there's video, social media clips, audio that demonstrates that they were not just on a tour of the Capitol that went a little bit awry, right? Just the accidental tourists who became instant insurrectionists. But, the defense lawyers are going to try every trick in the book to try to put more context, more confusion, inject more doubt into the jury who's considering this case. Norm Pattis, who was disbarred until a week ago for his misbehavior and misconduct in representing Alex Jones in the Sandy Hook trial, a loser, a lost trial. Norm Pettis for Joe Biggs, who's on trial in the Proud Boys case. He raised the issue 6 days ago. He said, well, we heard about Tucker Carlson and the 41,000 hours of video. I want to see that. That could be Brady material. So this is where we're going.
And by the way, look at that class of human being. This Pattis fella representing Alex Jones against Sandy Hook families. By the way, is that the guy that turned over all those text messages? Ooh, I can't wait. I bet this dude is going to leak some very specific information. I bet we're going to find that somebody, an unnamed source, is going to leak very specific clips to the wildest news organizations. I think that's how we're going to have OAN, etc., get a hold of this. Absolutely corrupt. And by the way, we need a return to the fairness doctrine, which Reagan killed, which required people who claim to be news organizations to present to both sides, essentially. Now, I don't like the way current news media both sides' issues because it's corporate media. But, and by the way, you can thank Bill Clinton for that as well. His deregulating of the media industry is why only a few companies control everything you see on TV. But I expect more disasters from the Proud Boy defense because of this. And of course, more misinformation, more conspiracy theories, more people that only peek at a little bit of information that seems to confirm what they want to believe and then shut themselves off from everything else because their masters tell them to. Be ready to shove this in their face. Be on the lookout for clips that are refuting the insane claims of right-wingers. And if you're not already, familiarize yourself with the unsubscribe challenge because this is going to be a wonderful era for getting people to stop watching this nonsense.
I hope we wouldn't get there. You know, Ben Meisalis and I in our Legal AF podcast talked 6 months ago. Is this material the Jan 6 committee material? We'll talk about that next. The Jan 6 committee material that wasn't given over to the defense. Is that Brady material, technical Brady material that needed to be turned over, or a conviction could be overturned? And it's not just the video footage. Now all the defense lawyers have heard loud and clear that it is open season on the Jan 6 committee over at the GOP-controlled House, and come and get it. It's like a garage sale. You want old records? You want old transcripts? You want old files? You want to go through them? Go ahead. Have at it. See what you can find in there. All the materials that were confidentially and that were soberly reviewed by the Jan 6 committee with a very small, for your eyes only group of aides and lawyers, investigators and prosecutors and members of Congress. Now it's a free-for-all. Everybody. To listen to Speaker McCarthy, the whole world, everyone should see eventually at least the 41,000 hours if they want to. We'll put it on a database like WikiLeaks. Everybody go take a look at it.
For the purposes of keeping the Capitol secure, I am against that. But you know what? For the rest of it, who cares? Did they do the thing or did they not? We're not trying to put these people in prison unfairly. We're trying to put these people in prison because they broke the law. If there is any evidence to the contrary, I want to see it. I want to see it. I like to think I'm significantly left of Bernie Sanders. But I want to see it. If one of those people in that crowd didn't do the thing they are accused of, okay, I want to see it. I want them out of prison. I don't think that's what we're going to find. Because as I've stated multiple times now, they had the opportunity to present that evidence. Don't get it twisted. If there actually was something, if there was a moment in there that they believed that could have proved their innocence, they would have presented that evidence already. They would have been able to attain that evidence. I don't think he's making a wrong point here. I just think he is not making it clear enough what he's talking about. He is talking about not evidence that does prove innocence. He's talking about evidence that doesn't change the case at all, but does put the country in danger. And that is a genuine concern. So what can you do about this? Actually not too crazy. Be ready to refute these claims. You're going to hear right-wingers up to their same old nonsense. They're going to look at a fraction of the evidence available. They're going to pointedly ignore the rest, and they're going to make wild accusations online about it. Get some canned answers prepared. When you see that Tucker Carlson has made an insane claim, understand that there are going to be people that refute it pretty quickly. Take the unsubscribe challenge with these MAGA folks. If you have somebody in your life who has fallen down this conspiracy rabbit hole where you must be to defend these traitors, if you have someone in your life like that, take the unsubscribe challenge with them. Have them play for you the Tucker Carlson clip. You play the rebuttal. And the loser, as in the person whose clip is proven to be a lie, they have to unsubscribe from their channel that they've presented for a week. That's the unsubscribe challenge. I'll link to it in the description with more details about how you can run this. But do that. The point is not to convert them to your side. The point is to show them that their information is incorrect. Even if it's just somebody that's online, you only run across them online, link them to the refutation. You won't be able to take the unsubscribe challenge with them because it more or less requires a personal relationship with that person. But link them to the refutation. It's not only for their benefit. In fact, it's not mostly for their benefit. It's mostly for the benefit of the knucklehead who's reading through the comments, who wants to believe that white people, the whites are under assault. Oh, no. If he sees an immediate reply to right-wing nonsense with, nah, it's not true, here's the link proving it, go have a look. He's going to be less tempted. He or she is going to be less tempted by the siren song of misinformation because they don't want to be embarrassed like the last commenter was, immediately put in their place. So prepare to put these people in their place, which is, whatever corner has a stool and a dunce cap.